All right, welcome back to Born to Be Great, episode 5 here. We're really excited today. We got an awesome guest on. How you doing, Mr. Ralston?
I'm good, man. How you doing, Mr. Pugh?
Oh, wonderful, guys. Just happy to be here.
Let's go. Let's go. He's also got the best first name in the world.
All right, well, that was my first question. How are we going to delineate which Justin? Because, Nick, you already said Justin, and I thought about responding.
One of y'all's got to be Jay, and one of y'all's got to be
Call me
Justin.
Pew.
So,
Call me Pew. I've always
Pugh.
gone by Pew in the locker room because when I got to the league, Justin Tuck was in the locker room.
Yeah.
And I went by Pew because I was going to, that's a Super Bowl champion. Should have
All
been the
right,
MVP.
we'll go with Pew. Yeah, Pew and I had breakfast. Like, what was it, like a few weeks ago? I was at the Tony Robbins event. We got breakfast. That was awesome. So I got to know Pew a little bit more, and Nick connected us. So that's how we got connected. But Nick and Pew have known each other for a little bit longer. So, um, Justin, we really want to know more about you, man, and your story. Obviously, I think from people just knowing you, obviously you've been in the league for a little bit, like you just retired. But NFL vet, man, like 10 plus years, that's amazing. So I personally am selfish. I want to learn more about your story, the high moments, the low moments. I know you and Nick can probably relate a lot more on what it's like to be in the league. So Nick, if you want to dive in and ask Justin one of your first questions, and I got some stuff later, but let's just start there.
Yeah, I can give a little background if you guys want, just kind of set the stage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's go for it.
Perfect. Yeah, grew up in the suburbs of Philadelphia, man. I never in a million years. So I grew up an Eagles fan, so that'll play into like the overall dynamics of this show because now I'm on the other side of the equation with the Giants. Nick, you're there with the Cowboys fandom, and then Justin, if you were a Commanders fan, it would have completed the trifecta. I'm happy you're not. You're a Jags fan. I don't think anyone is threatened by
Duval.
that. So grew up in Philadelphia. My mom was a school teacher. Stepdad was working in construction. Never in a million years thought I'd play college football. I was a 2-star. They didn't give 1-stars because they didn't want to be disrespectful. It was like either you're a no star, 2-star, up to 5-star.
I think I was a 2-star too.
Yeah. So
So,
they threw us
2-star
a
gang.
charity. Yeah. They threw us a charity 2-star. I got one scholarship offer from Syracuse University, and they were the worst school in Division I at the time. We were ranked 116 out of 120 for my recruiting class. So I never in a million years thought I'd have a chance to play in the NFL. I was like, let me go get a free education. My uncle was in the finance world. He had his own RIA at the time, wealth management firm. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to go get my degree, go work for my uncle. He works with clients, but I saw him golfing. He lived in Miami at the time. He owned a bar in my hometown. I was like, this guy's the man. Like, this guy has it all figured out. So I was like, degree in finance, go work for my uncle, and things will be good. Get to campus, end up being probably, definitely much better than I thought, I think, or anyone else thought. I really was just there. Thought I was going to party for 3 or 4 years with a free education, and I would go work on Wall Street, and ended up starting as a redshirt freshman. And when I make all conference my freshman year, I'm like, wait, hold on, I might be onto something here. Next year, go against a couple first round picks from USC, West Virginia. I had a guy on my team, Chandler Jones, whose brother's John Jones, a UFC fighter. His older brother is Arthur Jones, who's like a 4th or 5th round pick in the
I did not
NFL.
know they're brothers. How did I not know that?
Yeah,
Chandler and John Jones?
yeah,
Huge humans.
they're
That is an
the
athletic
longest
family.
arms, the longest arms of all time. So I realized after that second season of being a starter, and all these guys are getting drafted in the first round. I'm like, I'm locking these guys down. I'm playing really well against them. Agents start hitting me up. My family and I have to figure out how to navigate that world where dollar amounts are being thrown around that I never would have imagined, and trying to navigate my upbringing, which was not of that, to figure out how to handle it. And then senior year comes, have a great season, hit all the accolades, and end up getting drafted in the first round, 19th overall. And not by just any organization, by the New York Giants. I did think Dallas was going to draft me. They had the 18th overall pick that year, but I figured out they weren't when I went to Jerry's World, went to AT&T Stadium. I walk in, up on the Jumbotron. They brought in like their 15 visits for the first round. I said, welcome to Cowboy Stadium, Jordan Pugh. Obviously, my name's Justin, so I was like, yeah, they're probably not drafting me. They trade that pick. They take Travis Frederick, who ended up being an all-pro
Okay, yeah.
team and just an absolute stud. So I don't think they're too worried about it. And then the New York Giants take me with the very next pick, 19th overall. And that's when my whole life changed. That is when you go from 2-star, asking my mom for, throw a couple $100 in my savings account to get Subway and Chipotle, because they weren't paying. There was no NIL in 2009, 12.
Yeah.
To being a first-round draft pick. And I just remember calling my agent as soon as I got drafted. I just said, how much? I'm a numbers guy. How much are we getting? And he's like, dude, last year the guy got $4.5 million signing bonus. So you're right in that range. And we'll talk about taxes later. I got hit with taxes, so I didn't get the full 4. I got half of that. But that was the life-changing moment for me. And it was something that I'll never forget. That trajectory of never thinking you'll play to being a first-round draft pick and being on the cover of the New York Times, New York Post, everyone knowing your name was surreal.
That's awesome. Super cool. I love that. That's just hard work pays off.
I mean, it definitely was that process. My mom's a school teacher, and she made me take 5 classes. I wasn't going to be able to declare unless I graduated on time. So I remember that last summer, I took 5 courses to give myself the credit so I could have 3 or 4 during the football season and graduate. So I got my degree in finance. So that's something that I'm super proud of now. I probably wasn't as proud of it when I first got it, because I was like, Mom, I'm a first-round pick. Who are you talking to like this? I run the show now, and that's never the case. Mom's always in charge.
Love it, love it, love it. Well, cool, man. I appreciate the background. Let's get into the good stuff, the NFL stuff, firsthand. But selfishly, I just want to know about probably what was the best moment of your career, and then what was probably one of the most challenging moments of your career.
So I'm going to give you, from a football standpoint, one of the highs was signing the second deal. I think that is, I'm going to talk. I can give you football moments. I was on the field when DeAndre Hopkins made this Hail Mary catch against the Buffalo Bills to win, or going to my first playoff game with the New York Giants and getting to play at Green Bay, Lambeau Field. My first ever start, Dallas Cowboys Stadium, Sunday Night Football, lining up against DeMarcus Ware on my first rep. Those are moments that are just
Did you win?
We lost. We lost on a 6 at the end of the game. We had 6 turnovers in that game.
Oof.
Crazy. My first ever rep in the NFL with an 80-yard touchdown run. I thought the NFL was going to be easy. But I think for this show, really talking about the off-the-field highs and lows is probably what I'm most excited to talk about. So I think one of the biggest highs is being able to get drafted, being able to sign that second contract. Really, the biggest low was my second year in the NFL. I was, played every game my rookie season, had some ups and downs. I made all rookie team over Lane Johnson, over a lot of the other guys. I was at right tackle. I was playing the same position. So it feels good because Lane's going to be a Hall of Famer and I'm not. But I got him for one season, I think. Maybe he was all rookie with me, but Eric Fisher, the first round pick, or the first overall pick, might not have made it. So those things were all great. But my second year, I'm at right tackle. We play the Eagles. I'm from Philadelphia. So that game to me just means more. I want to beat the Eagles. I hate the Eagles at this point because they beat us. The Eagles have my number, and they've had most teams' number the last few years. I mean, Cowboys fans will be the first to tell you they've beaten up on the Cowboys, the Giants. They're a very good team. But at that year, I let up 4 sacks in a game. For an offensive lineman, I went my whole college career without letting up 4 sacks. In one game against the Eagles on Sunday Night Football, I let up 4 sacks. We lose 38-0 or 30-0. Victor Cruz has a season-ending injury. I guess that was fortuitous because then Odell Beckham took off that same year and went on his meteoric run. But I remember letting up 4 sacks, thinking I cost the team the game. I was embarrassed in front of my whole family, all my friends group, my high school, my community. And I remember crying after that game in my car. I've never been that embarrassed. The whole city of New York was like, Justin Pugh, you're a failure. You can't play in this league. Draft bust. So every time I see the draft bust, I'm like, damn it. I was close. I was close to going the other direction. And if mentally I wasn't able to check back in and get it figured out, it would have been the end of my career. It would have been the end of, all these dreams that I had just achieved. It would have been over with. So I do feel for guys that go through it, because there was a year period where I thought that was going to be me. And it completely changed the trajectory of my entire career. It's probably one of the best things to ever happen to me. but that is the lowest of lows when you go through something like that.
How did you check back in? Because I mean, me and Nick, we had a nice conversation yesterday just about some stuff we won't get into here, but just like checking back in, like you might know what you need to do. Like I know me personally, I've been through a bunch of shit, and like you know what you need to do, but you gotta like check back in. How did you do that in that kind of environment, especially in New York, where like the media's after you, like you got people, fans saying you suck. Like I can't even imagine what that's like. But like, how did you check back in there?
It got bad for a while, man. Like I was not leaving the house. I was just like, all right, I'm going to focus everything on football. Like not go out to dinner, not leave my apartment, and that was bad too. I wasn't interacting with anyone. I wasn't being social. Deleting all social media was probably a good thing for me at that time. I didn't need to be. I was always like feeling myself, right? I mentioned the all rookie. I thought my shit didn't stink, so I was like, oh, it's gonna be a Pro Bowl year. I'm gonna be the best tackle in football this year. And instead, I'm like, you might not be in the league anymore. And eventually, my agent knew something was up, and he goes, "Hey, I have this woman I want you to talk to. She's a success coach in New York City." And I went and met with her. Her name is Beth, and I would meet with her at this like bougie upscale restaurant. She's like a coach to CEOs and high performers. And I'm not gonna lie, it was definitely expensive, but she was awesome. She put her arm around me, and we started talking about the voices in your head, not in like a crazy way, but the way you talk to yourself, the way you talk to yourself before doing something, how you. It's like there was like the chicken and it was the chicken and there was another voice. I forget exactly the time, but the chicken's always trying to scare you and say, Justin, don't go do this. Don't play football. You shouldn't be doing this because you're going to embarrass yourself. And it's always quieting. I think there's like an old saying. It's like the one you feed is the one that wins out in the end. And
Mm-hmm.
I had to get everything. And this is the one thing I took and I still internalize today is your life is like a multi-lane highway. And you're trying to clear things out of like your personal life, your finance life, your family, your work life. And the more you make those roadblocks go away and clear those, you're smooth sailing and it allows you to just focus on one thing at a time. And that's what I started to do. When I was in New York, I was out partying. Like I was living in New York and they gave me, I told you, $4.5 million off the bat, 22 years old. Like I'm going out. I had the no number. I had the all blacked out Range Rover. Like I thought my shit didn't stink. Quickly learned I had to get all those things in order. You can't live large and go out all the time and do expensive dinners and bottle service and be a good football player. You have to change the way you are off the field to match. And that was a maturity arc that I went on from that period on. And I still struggle with it. I mean, you get anxious before you have a big day the next day and you don't sleep the night before. It's still something that everyone battles with. I don't think people realize why they battle with it, but it's something that I learned early on in my career. And after that, I actually started doing some MMA training. And I love the MMA training because it's that one-on-one, get into a ring with somebody and make that person quit. And I simplified the game from 11 on 11 to one-on-one, me versus this person, or me and my left tackle versus the D tackle and the DN. Like, we're going to win this battle. And it goes back to as simple as it is, like the Belichick, do your job. That's kind of what I started to make that difference. And I trained with this guy, Jay Glazer. You probably know him, the Fox, bald head Fox guy. Him, Chuck Liddell, Randy Couture all started a gym in LA. I trained out there with Lane Johnson, Kyle Long. There's a bunch of other guys that we train with. And we really started to develop that mentality of it's like, F you, it's me versus you. Someone's got to die, and it's not going to be me.
Nick, what do you think about that? You got to relate on some sort of level there.
Lane Johnson, he's a beast, man. Um, I met him a couple times, but no, it's interesting how you got dialed back in, and how I know folks, other even O linemen that didn't flip that switch. Now they're working in finance, but I think it's just so impressive that I mean I was only in the league for shoot, not even 18 months, and just your ability to play at such a high level for 10 years is insane. And I'm excited for what you're going to do, now in life, but I'm sure there's a lot of stories we could unpack. Each year is like a lifetime. Each season is a lifetime in its own. And if we had more time, I'd love to even go into each year and then the lessons that you learn. But yeah, were you ever involved with the O-line mastermind stuff?
I wasn't. I not that I didn't want to be. I always stayed in New York. I believe and I trained with Charles Bentley, who is OLP, who's in Arizona. Once I got to the Cardinals, because I was living there. But Duke Manyweather is doing a great job. I mean, those guys getting O linemen together is the next best thing for your individual team to stay together. And I still think
Yeah.
that's probably the best way to do it. The Dallas Cowboys, when they had Tyron Smith, when they had Zach Martin, they all trained together all the time. They were together. Those guys did everything together. I truly believe that offensive line play, if you don't love the guy you're playing next to and really know him and know his mannerisms, because you're passing off stunts, you're doing things that where there isn't a black and white yes or no, you should do this, you shouldn't do this. You have to know how your left tackle is going to respond. And I had really good relationships with my left tackle, DJ Humphreys, when I was in Arizona. We were as thick as thieves, best friends, in each other's wedding. Like he's one of my best friends to this day. And I was in New York, and me and Eric Flowers didn't really talk to each other, and it showed on the field. We didn't play well next to one another, and it definitely impacted his career and my career because the Giants didn't re-sign me. And I wish I would have embodied something like an OLP early on, where me and the guys went and trained together in the offseason at minimum. But I always stayed in New York and trained in New York City, which I felt like was the right move. And it did. Also, by the way, these organizations didn't exist 13 years ago. Like Duke was still, he was an intern, I think, for Charles Bentley or one of the coaches at Charles Bentley's place. So this has just become in vogue since like the defensive line. Von Miller created that. Then offensive line masterminds got started. But I love where they're going with it. Duke is, a savant when it comes to offensive line play.
I heard a pattern there a little bit. Like you talked about sticking together, working out with your teammates, and it sounds like you also had a ton of coaches and mentors throughout your career. Can you talk a little bit about that and just like how that impacted you? Because I think that has to do with longevity for sure and helping you stay in the league and helping you get back in the right mindset, stay on your feet, be in the best shape.
Yeah, the mentor side, I think, is the most important piece that I had and maybe didn't realize until it was a little bit later. Not only from a football standpoint, but from an off the field standpoint, how to learn how to move off the field, just like you need to learn how to move on the field. So I had Tom Coughlin, Hall of Fame coach. He was, you're 5 minutes early to everything or you're late. You're wearing
off the time.
Yeah, you're wearing the proper attire. You get it in Jacksonville. He was down there, and newer generations, I think, butt heads with those philosophies a little bit. And I even think older generations did. Like Michael Strahan and Tiki Barber did not get along with Tom Coughlin when he first got hired. But I came from that strict mindset. I had Doug Marrone, another Jacksonville coach, and was at the Bills for a while, who was very strict when I was in college as well. And I did well. I do well with structure. I think a lot of NFL players do well with structure. A lot of us struggle post-career when we aren't told when to be, where to be, and how to be. So for me, I found the right mentors in my career off the field, and I guess I should say I found them on the field. I would take bits and pieces from every player. This player does this great. I love how he prepares. This player spends extra time working out on Fridays to do arm farm, which sounds silly, but the guys that went in on Fridays that cared about getting the biceps right, they're just doing the little things extra. And I realized doing the little things extra snowballed and compounded. And then, I think, and Nick, you alluded to this, every year has a journey.
Yep.
Going into my 5th year, I had an injury. I was working on a contract extension with the Giants to become one of the highest paid guards in football and have a back injury. The GM gets fired. The head coach gets fired. And now all of a sudden the new GM comes in and like whatever he said doesn't matter. Like this is the business of football. It's not once a Giant, always a Giant, or once a Cowboy, always a Cowboy, like people tell you. If a GM comes in and his job's on the line, he's putting his guys in position to be successful and you're out. So the Giants shipped me off and I had to go to free agency and sign with Arizona, who at the time was the worst or one of the worst teams in the NFL. I mean, we ended up drafting Kyler Murray after my first year. So it just goes to show we were the worst team in the NFL. And that's when the business of sports really started to shine through. And that's when I started to look at people off the field of, wow, this NFL thing isn't forever. I need to figure out how to operate on and off the field in a different manner. And that was a huge, once it wasn't a hobby anymore, it wasn't fun, it was a business, everything switched for me. I never had a reason to not play football. You get a scholarship, you play. You get drafted in the first round, you play. The Cardinals pay you a shit ton of money, you play. I mean, I
Yeah.
signed my deal was 5 years, $45 million to sign with the Cardinals. Why would I ever even think about not playing football? But as soon as you're terrible, and then all of a sudden the Cardinals come to you and say, "Hey, you got to take a pay cut," you're like, "Shit." Yeah, just so you didn't know, I didn't get that whole contract because the Cardinals made me take pay cuts the last few years. But that was an eye-opening moment for me, and I'm like, all right, let me start leaning on these mentors off the field to figure out what I'm going to do if football isn't an option.
Oh, that's really smart. Nick, I want you and Pew to go back and forth on this a little bit too, because obviously you've been doing it a little now. Justin is now stepping into his next phase of his life, his career. I'm curious just how y'all think about that, because I think you both mentioned a few things about like football players struggle, outside when they get outside the NFL if they don't have that structure.
Nick, I'd love to hear your input because for me and you knowing each other for a short period of time, I've seen you excel at this. I mean, like when I talk to people, your name pops up, not even through intros that
No,
we've made
everybody.
now. So give me your thought process of how to leverage your time playing to figure out what you wanted to do next.
Yeah, I mean, I think you mentioned something a little bit earlier, about taking, I'm going to say features, taking pieces of people's game and adding them to yourself. And, as a football player, particularly in the pros, you're always analyzing how you can get better. And I think that's something you can apply to life, of just surrounding yourself with people that are better men, women, more successful, stronger in their faith, um, better at a certain skill, and just continuing to surround yourself with people like that. Because I think that's ultimately how you yourself get better, and just staying super intellectually curious. And I think I developed that from the game of football, just trying to understand the overall scheme and how all the puzzle pieces fit together. Always asking questions, just always learning. And I think, me, I kind of got to where I am just hustling and networking and finding ways to create value for valuable people. Because,
How
the
do
game
you
of
create
football,
value for valuable people? Like that's the one thing that every guy asks me. They're like, "What can I bring to someone that has everything, or quote unquote has everything?" That was something that I'm still learning, and I've taken pieces from your playbook, man. So I just want to double click on that one.
yeah,
Now
everybody's
I
different,
feel like
dude.
I'm interviewing you guys.
Let's go, dude. Let's go. I love it.
Yeah. No, everybody's different. I mean, some people are financial, some people are spiritual, some people it's their kids, pouring and investing into them. Um, I'd say Justin likes to, you know, be surrounded with folks that have the mindset of continuous improvement and being a dog. So I think he really enjoys being around folks like that. Not necessarily anything financial or monetary, but it's just, trying to find what's important to people. And dude, it's so different with different people. Some people, like,
They
everybody
want to
wants
be, they want to
something.
be around the money. Hey, introduce me to your friend who's got their yacht.
Yeah.
Justin, on the other hand, wants to have coffee with a crazy person like myself, and you're like, all right, let's get these two psychos connected to talk about Tony Robbins and
Yeah.
things that we're talking about here today. I mean, this is very similar to the coffee meetup we had.
That's the real shit though. Like for real, like I mean the money and stuff's cool, but like having those deep conversations, I think that's for me, like it makes life more meaningful, more fun. And like to me, awesome people have done cool shit that like again, I'm not you guys know me. I have no shot to even be like a pro athlete whatsoever in my genetics. So to like meet y'all, it's just like, dude, how can I learn from Justin? How can I learn from Nick? What was the league? Like to me, that's like the coolest thing ever. And I've never had access to stuff like that, like growing up really. So to like learn from you guys, I'm like, this is fucking awesome. So I love this kind of stuff.
But I love meeting guys like you that are pro in what you do and hearing how those stories overlap. I think that's something that I don't know if it was why my original trajectory and like some of my family being in the wealth management space, to see entrepreneurs and to see people building successful businesses and networking. That always was, that's professional outside. And how do I become whatever the percent odds of making it to the NFL are, it's probably the same to build it, maybe even harder to build a successful business and have it exit for a certain, whatever. So I think there are overlaps between the two.
For
And
sure.
I didn't even know what the term family office was until a friend of mine, I worked for a family office in the off season, learning real estate, venture, private equity. And as I started to meet like the CEO's son, me and him had great conversations. And then some of the younger guys in the building, those were the people I was like, damn, these are like the rookies. These are the first round picks, like these young up and coming guys at these family offices. And that's who I started to surround myself with now off the field, because like, hey, this is the next generation who's going where I want to go in business. I'm going to take what I learned from football and translate it. But Nick, that's the hardest part for me is how do we get more NFL players? Because I didn't have the role model. Like I've had some great role models, don't get me wrong, but it's not like I was going to my mom and saying, hey mom, teach me what a family office is. Teach me how to invest in venture or private equity or real estate. I heard multifamily office. I was like, isn't that a real estate? Isn't that just, are they building apartments? So how do you flip the switch and like go from football? I'm asking because I'm still trying to figure it out.
I mean, for me, I think I was always interested in business. I was exposed to some private equity folks when I was really young, and always try to figure out how they made so much money. Thought I'd go
Just
the
roll it up,
investment
whatever it
banking.
is.
Yeah, thought I'd go like the investment banking route and or consulting and get into private equity. But was just always interested in like hustling and making money. And even during college, I sold like 2,000 pairs of shoes I bought from Ross and Burlington and like the Nike clearance store. Just like in my downtime. So that was stuff that I think I naturally expressed. And then, had a real estate license, when I was on the Cowboys, helping them buy and sell homes, and evolved into investing. And, then I realized that you can make money with other people's money. And that was kind of a light bulb moment. But yeah, like, I think NIL will change things with these guys and gals getting more involved, in business because they're getting money at an earlier age. Even social media, I think, is making it more, I don't say popular, but yeah, I mean, it's tough for a lot of these guys transition out of sports. And there's probably more resources that teams and leagues can put in to help guys and gals transition out. But at the end of the day, it's just a choice that these players got to make, that they're gonna take what they learned, from playing a pro sport or just sports in general for a couple of decades and apply it to their life, their business and their career. And so I just think these players got to be, proactive, and you got to, find the ones that you got. Like, there's some folks that even you, Justin, I think are super influential. And you can give these players like a blueprint of how you kind of transitioned out and kind of what you're doing now. Because I think a lot of these players have a playbook. They're kind of not told what to do, but more examples of a pathway. Like another guy, and I think you know him, is Taylor Griffin. Been super impressed with him as he's transitioned out of playing ball, into business and investing. I think there just needs to be more examples of people like that these players can relate to, and it's just building a community that they can tap into while they're playing, and then post their career, connecting them with entrepreneurs and mentors. Yeah.
While you're playing, to capitalize on it, I think is the biggest thing, because you have the influence when you're working at a big company and you have the influence. Like, leverage the brands around you and your story. That was something that I didn't realize. How do you create that story, and how do you leverage it? And that's why I went back to the New York Giants for my 11th season, because I knew playing for the New York Giants got me into more rooms, because I was a Syracuse grad. I was a first round pick there. My name went further in New York. And when I went back to the Giants, every Tuesday I say interning, and I don't mean it in like people are like, stop calling yourself an intern. I'm like, all right, well, I was hanging around the hoop, whatever you want to call it. I was going and sitting around and just watching and learning. I just read this book. You guys should read it. It's called, you might have already read it. It's called The Lion Tracker's Guide to Life. And it's by this guy, Boyd Vardy. And he talks about how when you're on the trail hunting for a lion, like it's focusing in, it's narrowing in on the things that are important. And he talks about how he learned to be a tracker was more through osmosis than anything he read, any classes he studied. And men were built, and he specifically says men, so men and women obviously, learn these skills through osmosis and being around like these tight-knit communities. And Justin, light bulbs were going off when you go to and learn from someone like we were talking about the Tony Robbins event. It's like-minded people coming together, absorbing other people in the room, not just what he's putting magic in the room, and it's our job to absorb it, to monitor it, and then to internalize it and turn it into something you can use for your life. Because not everyone's going to see the lion's paw print the exact same way. I might be really good at picking up on certain aspects of it, and I thought it was just a great philosophy of more guys need to say, hey, I played at Syracuse University. CEO of MetLife does the largest perm financing in the world, is a Syracuse grad. How did I not know that? The head of Newmark is a Syracuse grad. He runs the real estate program. One of the founders of Carlisle is a Syracuse grad. Don't know any of them. Didn't know any. Now I do. I'm getting in contact with them now. But like, I was the last first round pick from Syracuse University almost 12, 13 years ago now. Why did I failed because I didn't leverage that? I failed because I didn't foster a community. I'm trying to make up for lost time, but I think something I'm taking from your playbook, Nick, is to find how to add value to those folks' lives.
Yeah.
Just insert Giants fan, insert Cardinals fan, leverage my story as a player to now figure out how to add value post-career. Because, again, we have this common bond of I want Syracuse football and university to be successful. How do we all come together to help with that? And you mentioned the college athlete space. I think that's a crazy landscape.
I think that's super interesting, that what you just said about community again, but like adding value post career. So now I want to get into like the post career stuff, Justin, what you're doing next, and how you plan to do that, because I'm going through this phase now too, where I'm like gonna be more active on social media, personal brand stuff, building this new thing I'm building out. And it's like, how can you add value just to like give it away, but in return, like you're gonna get a ton of that back because you're adding so much value to people. Like, tell us a little bit about what you're working on now. And then it sounds like too, we got to do a mastermind with all these like NFL guys one day.
Well, I think the O-line mastermind, there needs to be this business side of it too. And I've started it with the NFL. So when I was in New York, I realized I had a business partner, and I still do. And we started this company called Athlete Podcast Network. I thought if I could get people doing this, talking about what they're interested in, I don't need them to become the next Kelsey. I don't need you to be a professional podcaster. But if you put what you're interested out into the world, people will start to notice, and it'll come back around to you. So we started in that space, super hard. NFL fans, they're not coming for your take on if you get injured, what should you do? How do NFL players have their settlements or workers comp or benefit packages? They want to know about the New York Giants. So I started talking about things that I thought would be beneficial to players in the business of sport. Realized quickly people wanted to hear about my Giants takes. So we pivoted from a podcast to doing more content creation. And I realized content creation is the way of the future. It is getting dirty, getting in the weeds. But if you have the ability to control your own narrative, if you don't tell your story in this day and age, someone's going to tell it for you. And I learned that by playing for the New York Giants and wholeheartedly believe in it. You need to have some access to media. You have to have some access to intel. You have to have information about things in the world that don't exist elsewhere. And then you need to have that, and you get that through mentorship. I really, truly believe that. So I approached the NFL and I said, hey, there has to be a way to teach more guys this playbook. And the NFL is a $24, $25 billion a year business. How do we, and just to put it in terms, players have 48.23% goes into the hands of the players. Now when we get taxed, that's almost $11 billion that are flowing into the hands of players. That's money that has never been here. We have never had that amount of capital. And that money, there's crazy stats. I don't know how true it is. 78% have financial stress. Even if it was 50%, even if it was 25% have financial stress, how can we lower those numbers long term? So I went to the league and I said, hey, let's do something where we teach more players how to leverage their brand, not just on the field, but off the field. Because Justin Pugh on the field as an offensive lineman, yeah, I'm not getting a sneaker deal but I can go meet the CEO of this company. He's sitting in the suite watching the Giants every Sunday. How can I show him that not only do I provide value to them on the field by being a player, but off the field, going to events, meeting people, connecting dots, helping these companies build community, which a lot of companies, I don't think they realize how important that is. And that's what I pitched the NFL. I said, let's do NFL Biz Week. My business partner, Alex, and I took this athlete podcast network and turned it into this education platform, free. I'm not making money doing this. This isn't a business, because I realized if you can help players and you can help the league, the rooms that it got me in, the social equity that I got paid in was more than enough to cover the time, effort that I put into putting it together. So last March, we had a 3-day summit. We had just high-level operators. RXR, for example, came and talked about real estate and showed us their new office building. It's like office, residential, and a hotel above Grand Central. It's a $6.5 billion project. It's the largest in, I think, North America. Then I had a player come in and talk about a player's journey. And Malcolm Johnson, Notre Dame grad, went to Carnegie Mellon, now does value add multifamily, and has raised over $200 million. So I showed like the highest level operator in the space, and then I showed a player that's also dominating in the space, and showed them, hey, what was your journey to get there, and how can more players just take tools from your toolbox to put in? Like, I don't need you becoming RXR. You're probably not gonna, former NFL player, go develop a $6.5 billion super skyscraper.
Who knows, man?
Yeah. We have some big goals.
Look at Roger Staubach, what he built. I'm not saying it's impossible.
600 million, man. Guys, I got to bounce to another meeting, but like Justin, we got to have you, or Pugh, my bad. We got to have you on again. There's a lot,
straight off the couch,
you can
straight off
do
the couch.
to help these players, man. And I want to help you do it. I've got a broad network, and I think there's ways we can leverage each other's resources to really help out, not only the league, but the players first and foremost. So,
if you help
guys,
players, it's going to come back around. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree, man. I'm all about that mission, and there's people I do want to connect you with. I'll
Justin,
bring you offline.
Justin, where can everyone find you online?
It's just Justin Pugh on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. That's probably the biggest area. Just look me up on LinkedIn. We'll figure it out. We're running back Biz Week with the NFL this year, and we're talking about doing it at the college level as well with another one of the sponsors I met through Biz Week. So we got a lot of good things cooking right now, and I'm excited to see where it heads up next.
Let's go. Awesome. We appreciate you coming on, Justin.
All right, appreciate you guys.
Next time.
See ya.
Later.